exactly to your point, like what was Donald Trump's great insight in the mid 1980s was that even in a very liberal city like New York, liberal people were also pretty skeptical of government. So that he could be outrageous but be effective in this case, or claim to be effective. He could run against the government without being necessarily like a small government conservative. He could say, I'm going to get you a better deal. And that would be politically appealing even in a liberal city, right? Like there's this terrific quote from, I think, a Joyce Pernick column at the time, like right after the Woolman rank is reopened, that Trump succeeds, where some ordinary New Yorker, like who you and I would presume would be an Obama Biden voter, right, or maybe even a Yang voter, right? But this guy says, whoever can get anything done in the city deserves a ticker tape parade, right? And like you can imagine Donald Trump reading that in Trump Tower, just like what I don't know what he would do, but he would have liked to be ushered down the Canyon of Heroes and confetti, certainly at that time, and certainly probably at this time too. And like you're absolutely right. Like we have become so focused on screaming over and over at people who supported Trump, saying like this guy's a monster and he's a convict and he's a xenophobe and a racist and he's incompetent and he's a snake oil salesman and all. We've been attacking him without looking inside ourselves to see that we are conflicted against our own impulse to make government work, right? That we are simultaneously eager to build out this institution so that it can solve big problems like climate change, and dreadfully fearful that like powerful officials will do things that we personally don't like. And that sort of puts us in this strange position where we're selling refrigerators that don't keep the food cold, right? And then
try to figure out anti-refrigerator, Mark.
Where the problem that we need is to create a refrigerator that works. The problem is the underlying problem is that the thing that we're selling is a thing that we are telling people doesn't work. And so rather than being focused on every Trump outrage, like this is a moment where we don't have any power. So we ought to spend it thinking about like let's get this right. Let's think about how are we going to create an agenda that would give the average voter the impression and the reality that once power is handed to a government official, they will be able to expeditiously solve some big public problem.
Yeah, and that leads to your recommendations and hope for the future, where you say, look, this is not a bad thing, because what this means is that if we can figure out what we are doing, both in terms of our anti-power / government mindset, sometimes like the Jeffersonian impulse, like we start like approaching things a bit differently, and then actually maybe look at the rules and regulations that comprise the vetocracy. Like maybe we can change this. Like this is actually more within our power to change than perhaps changing the hearts and minds of millions of areas on the other side.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure you have this experience. Like when you talk to progressives today, the sort of outreach end. They feel like they've spent the better part of a decade yelling and screaming about Trump, trying to get people to pay attention to the things that he's lied about, that he's wrong about, that that he doesn't actually care about the people that are voting for him in the working class. We've been so focused on that, and the notion is like, how many times do we have to tell people that he's bad until they believe us? As if we are powerless to do anything but, post another example of Trump being duplicitous on Facebook or Twitter or whatever we're going to do. Like the sort of notion is like, I voted for the other guy. I'm going to keep telling the truth. But like until these people, begin reality dawns on them, they're going to send our country into a tailspin. And what I'm saying here is like the upshot of my argument is that this is something that we can fix. Like, we don't have to wait for Donald Trump. We, to the degree that we are our own impediment, we can solve this. Like, there have been moments in progressivism's history where we've done amazing things, where we've had a really clear vision and we've accomplished incredible things, like the Tennessee Valley Authority, which I think is the apotheosis of Hamiltonian progressivism. Like, here was an entire region of the country that was, 50, 100 years behind technologically. Like, there were poor farmers who couldn't get electricity to their farms, so they were farming in the manner of the 19th century here in the middle of the 20th. And the private companies, the utilities in the South, largely a company called Commonwealth and Southern, didn't believe that the return of wiring up these poor farms was going to be worth the expenditure that they would have to lay out. So they were leaving these people to live in poverty. And FDR and the people that he hired to run this authority said, no, like, if the market doesn't work here, we are going to fix it. And so they did. They dammed a bunch of rivers. They built these wires. They reforested, barren land. They created reservoirs. They created new industry. Like to the degree that the Upper South today is sort of, in keeping with, that is something that we, the progressives, have done. There is no way that the progressivism of today, with its anti-government overlay, would ever seek to do anything so ambitious. And it wouldn't get done, even if Obama or Biden or anyone, even if they proposed it. Like, the system simply wouldn't allow it to get done. We need to focus on ourselves and create a place where government is capable of doing big things again: high-speed rail, transmission lines that take advantage of the clean energy revolution, new housing, etc. Like, where we can make decisions fairly quickly, even when there are environmental objections, even when there are local objections, even when, like, someone is going to pay a heavy cost. Like, these are public goods. Like, we've got an asteroid, coming towards Earth, proverbially, in climate change. Like, if we're going to fix these problems, government needs to work, and that's something that we as progressives need to grapple with ourselves before we can continue to sort of, instead of being so exclusively focused on trying to convince people that the other side is the root of all evil.
Mark Dunkelman, Why Nothing Works. Congratulations, my friend. You really have made like a very, very big contribution. I know it was a lot of work, and I learned a lot. I consider myself pretty savvy, but I learned a lot from your book. Hey YouTube, thanks for watching. Please do hit like and subscribe, and hit that bell if you want to be notified every time a new episode drops. Thank you.